Welcome to another episode of The Glam. We're so excited that you get to hang out with us. Wednesdays are so much better with you, and I'm so grateful again that you get to hang out with us. The hashtag is The Glam NTV. You can also follow our Instagram page at The Glam NTV. And if you've missed out on other episodes of The Glam, all you need to do is check out www.ntvkenya.co.ke. And great news, we're also on YouTube. So if you miss out the episodes, you can also check us out on YouTube. Now, today's episode of The Glam brings us to Mfangano Trade Center. We did take a good trek here, which was really good to just see how many glam businesses are in this side of town. But today we explore the world of Heenah. So now Heenah art or Mehndi art, or Mehndi, yes, in Hindi or Urdu, is a practice that started 5,000 years ago in Pakistan, India, Africa, and the Middle East. So before we got to use Heenah for what we do right now, it was used for its natural cooling properties. So what people would do in hot areas is that they would crush the Heenah leaves, and that paste they would use to cool their hands and their feet. Now times have changed because now we're symbolically using Heenah for art, used during weddings, birthdays, because it is a celebration of love, prosperity, good vibes, and all that good stuff. So to help us unpack this, we have Halima, the Heenah artist. But before we do that, I want you to check this out.
Heenah art is an ancient tradition that's been decorating hands and stories for thousands of years. Also called Mehndi, Heenah has been around for over 5,000 years. It all started in ancient Egypt, where it was used not just for beautification, but also for its cooling properties in the desert heat. Pharaohs and queens painted their nails and hands with Heenah as a symbol of power and luck. From Egypt, Heenah traveled across the Middle East, South Asia, and North Africa, evolving with every culture it touched. In India, it became an essential part of wedding ceremonies. So imagine intricate designs telling stories of love, prosperity, and protection. In Morocco, the patterns got bolder and geometric, reflecting tribal identities. Did you know that the darker the Heenah stain, the stronger the love? At weddings, they say the bride's Mehndi will be darker if her groom truly loves her. So ladies, if your Heenah fades fast, maybe it's time to chat with your boo. Heenah also has a secret side. During World War II, Indian women used Heenah to hide Heenah designs as a symbol of resistance and cultural pride when foreign rule tried to suppress traditions. It's amazing how a simple plant-based dye became a powerful form of expression. Today, Heenah art is more popular than ever worldwide. It's not just for weddings anymore. Festivals, fashion, and even body art competitions celebrate in this ancient craft. Artists now blend traditional motifs with modern styles, turning Heenah into a global phenomenon. So next time you see those gorgeous Heenah patterns, remember you're looking at thousands of years of history, culture, and stories painted right onto the skin. Isn't that just beautiful? For now, let's get back into the show.
So Halima, please introduce yourself to the Glam audience.
All right, my name is Halima Ayeko. I'm a Heenah artist, and at the same time, I'm still a creative artist. I create kids projects. Heenah, I've done it for now close to about 10-15 years, and it's more of a hobby.
Oh wow.
Yes.
So I'm so excited because it is my first time to get Heenah done, and we'll get to unpack this because there's so many things that you mentioned before that I had no idea about, but I know the audience now today can learn a thing or two. But firstly, is Heenah only for Muslims?
No, henna is not only for Muslims. Anyone can get henna done.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to be doing a piece on my hand, yeah? And you'll also just show us the process and also just explain why you decided to use the products that you decided to use and the designs, yeah?
Okay.
All right. So what's the first thing that we get to do?
The first thing that you'll do, you'll need to wipe your hands.
Okay.
That's just a normal wet wipe.
Okay.
Essentially, whenever you apply body lotion on your body, it gives a barrier so the henna doesn't get a very good stain.
Okay.
So we need the oils off the hands. That's why you're using a wet wipe.
Okay.
Yes.
So we've done a tattoo episode before, and one of the things that the tattoo artist talked about was picking the design. So as a henna artist, do you also take your clients through maybe the design process, how to pick the perfect designs for their hands?
Yes, we actually have to take a client through what type of design you'd want, because essentially we have 4 designs. We have the Arabic, we have the Sudanese, we have Indian, and there's also the Moroccan design. So each client has a different preference. So we take clients through images, so you have a look if you don't have an idea of what you'd want to have. So we take you through the different images, you have an inspiration. Then from there now we go next to, we have 2 types of henna. We have the organic henna, which you had, which is essentially the henna powder that is mixed with sugar, lemon, essential oils to get a very good stain. Then we have the synthetic one, which is now the black dye. So we have 2 types of color. So the maroon color and the instant black color. Then there's also an instant red henna.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So from there, that's when we pick what design we are putting, because essentially also every person has a different shape of the hand. So certain patterns would not look good on a slender arm, will not look good on somebody who's got an arm that has a nice round, a nice surface area.
Okay.
Yes.
That's very interesting. So I did pick my design, and that's what you call the Indian design.
Yes.
So now, what really differentiates this different designs? Because from when I was scrolling, to pick the design, all of them just looked like the same thing. But then I would show you, and you'd be like, "No, this is Moroccan. This is Indian." So what differentiates these designs?
What differentiates the designs are essentially the flower pattern, the flower patterns, the petals. And then also, like for example, the Indian designs are very symmetrical. Whatever is on this hand has to be on the other hand. When it comes to the Arabic, you might find some are symmetrical, others they can do different designs. If it's a Moroccan, their designs are very, the Moroccans use dainty, at the same time very intricate designs. Yes, that is the difference. Then when it comes to the Sudanese henna are very, they're more geometrical kind of shapes, and they're very thick.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm excited. So my surface area is clean and
yes,
ready?
It's clean and ready.
Okay. And we're using the maroon.
Yes. Now this is the organic henna. Yes.
Okay.
So this is the kind of the same. So what happens is, definitely when I'm drawing, you'll be able to see the pattern. Once it dries, we'll scrap it off. We'll put some oil. Then it'll have an orange stain. After 24 hours, that will be tomorrow. That is when you'll start noticing that the stain gets a darker color.
Okay.
So organic henna essentially takes about 48 hours to get to its full color.
What are some of these things that you would say that clients need to know before coming to get henna?
Essentially, like initially, remember I had asked you if you have any allergies, because there's certain products that would not go really well. Like for example, the synthetic, the black dye has sulfate. So somebody who reacts to sulfur, high chances are if you get henna done with the black henna, you might get a reaction. Unfortunately, we can't tell how fast the reaction would be, because for some people it can be immediately. They'll tell you, I'm feeling itchy. Some it can take a day, others 2 days. I had an incident where there's a client who got the reaction after the stain had gone off, and that's like 2 weeks later. So it's just good for somebody to note that, yes, I do have a reaction. Once you mention that you have an allergy, then I'd advise you go for the organic.
I think henna artists are one of the most talented artists, because you guys don't sketch.
No.
You just go straight to it.
Yes, and there's no room for error.
Yes, there's no room for error at all. How long have you been doing this?
Henna has been more of a hobby. I've done it since I was in campus. That was back in 2009.
One thing that is very vivid is that henna artists are very talented because she has just freestyled this and she is moving very, very fast. One of the things that we also mentioned earlier on is how in the ancient days, people used this for cooling purposes. And I can actually feel that ubaridi, it has like a menthol kind of feeling, which is very interesting. I didn't think I would actually feel that, but I do. Now, how do you prepare this paste? Because I know you mentioned some of the ingredients, but do you make this yourself?
Yes, you do. Essentially, what happens are the different, we have the different henna powders coming from different countries, like from Sudan, their leaves are different in terms of the staining. We have from India, there's this, I think the north and the south. So essentially, you need to know where you're getting your henna powder from. Then it's filtered essentially for it to be a very fine paste, because remember they're leaves, so they really have to be crushed. Then they're passed through like a muslin bag for it to be a very fine powder. Once it's fine, what happens next is what gives the henna stain is more the more acidic the pH is what makes the henna stain darker. So essentially we use the process is, once you have your henna powder filtered, you put in some lemon, put in a bit of sugar. The sugar gives it a stringy, I think you noticed when I was drawing, it's got a stringy feel. Then from there now you balance in with the essential oils. Like now the coolness you're getting it from eucalyptus, it has eucalyptus oil. So some people put eucalyptus, some people put lavender, others put, what is this, it's called I think citric acid, which is similar to lemon. So every henna artist has how they would want to mix their own henna paste.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, as an artist, because I know you've said that this is more of a hobby, but I'm sure you've been able to see how henna art has evolved over the years to now what we see right now. What would you say about this evolution, and are you happy with how the contemporary styles are making use of, you know, the henna tradition?
Oh yes, henna has evolved because essentially, like I remember when we were kids, henna, we were not using cones. Initially, it used to be, once a henna paste has been mixed in a bowl, they would use sticks. So you can imagine the amount of patience that you have to see to get your flower done using a stick. And also in terms of the intricacy, the designs have kept on changing over the years. Now, essentially, we use henna cones, and I'll give an example. Like Morocco, they actually use something similar to a syringe and an injection.
Oh, wow.
For it to give it that dainty feel, but we can still emulate that using a cone. So basically the cone, once you've done the henna paste, we make the cone using different types of paper. Like remember I said, every person has their own preference. Like this is a cellophane paper. There's somebody who'd use a normal, you know, like the packaging of spaghetti. That hard type of paper, I've forgotten its name. So some people would use that because they find that gives them the comfort. I prefer the harder the paper, the better for me. It gives me the stability. So we've watched henna patterns changing with time, because like with the henna patterns, for example, this is called a strap. A strap essentially means it moves from one end to the other. So it's a whole movement. We have bangles, which actually looks like a bangle. We have spiral. Spiral essentially would mean it will move from this finger to this side, then it will come again from this side, like the whole spiral shape. But with time, right now, you'll find people have evolved from the old methods. They just be like, I just need a flower here, and maybe one here, and one here. I just need one on one finger. So people have moved from the contemporary way of how we used to do henna, both having it front, the back, to just having simple flowers on top, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you think about Heenah, one of the things that I think about is tradition. You know, how do you feel like Heenah has been able to preserve a lot of the different traditions? We've spoken about, you know, Moroccan, Sudanese, Egyptian. How do you feel like this form of art has been able to preserve and pass down some sort of traditions?
I think especially when it comes to mainly the brides, that has not changed. It's very hard to get a bride who still does not get their henna done, both for hands and legs. Just back then they would do inside the palm, under the feet, but essentially you have to have your bridal henna done full body. That's essentially from the finger to the shoulder and from the toes to the knees. So that traditional bit, especially for brides, hasn't yet changed. It's still the same.
Yeah. Because I mean, ideally, you have to see. If you don't see that, you're like, there's something missing.
There's something missing. There's just, I don't know how to explain it, but for you to be a bride, you need to sit for those 6 hours to feel you're a bride.
Wow,
yes, it takes 6 to 8 to 10 hours, depending. Like normal Arabic henna, bridal henna takes about 6 hours. Is a pattern for 8 hours, 10 hours.
Wow.
So without you having sitting for that long, even your own female relatives will just be like, how can you get married without getting your henna done, you know? Yeah, so it complements actually also the outfit. It does.
So Halima is done with both designs, and why did you pick this to contrast this?
I love doing the Moroccan designs, especially because it's not like the contemporary whereby you have to have all the fingers filled in. So this is just to show the different contrast of the different designs. With the Moroccan, there's a dainty but with very tiny flowers. But when you look at the Indian, the flowers are a bit more, they've got more of a spiral movement.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it. Now, so far so good. They're almost dried, which is very shocking because I thought it was going to take like an hour. But we're able to achieve, you know, some dried areas, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the things you'd say are misconceptions about henna art?
We could say some of the misconceptions are, some people tend to think that henna art is permanent. It's not. It's temporary. So it's something that will take up about 7 to 14 days, depending with somebody's skin absorption. And also another misconception is most people think henna is painful just because the tip is very sharp, but it's not sharp. It's actually blunt because it's been cut off. Compared to like a tattoo, it's an actual needle that goes deep into your skin. This is just on top. Okay. And then lastly, the most misconception that most people have with henna is that most henna artists have not gone to school, because essentially back then in the days, most of the henna artists were either their school dropouts and whatnot, but currently it's an actual course that people go to school and learn. So those are some of the misconceptions that people have in regards to henna.
What would you say makes you very stable in doing henna? Because I don't know how you were able to do this, considering you did it very fast and very detailed and precise.
One, practice. It's a skill. At the end of the day, you have to keep practicing, and you need to know the pressure points. For example, like where you find the place is dark, the pressure point has to, you apply more pressure, and where you find the area is where you find the place is thick, that you apply a lot of pressure, and places where the lines look very faint, we don't put a lot of pressure. So it takes a lot of practice, because it's the same thing like when you're painting, if you're drawing, you need to know where to shade an area that is darker than the rest. It's the same thing, because actually also in henna, we do shade, especially like with the Arabic patterns. Okay. So you have to actually shade. Now that is where, as much as henna art is a skill you can acquire, you really have to be a creative, because you never know what pattern a client might give you to draw.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're saying essentially is that you can learn to be a henna artist, but at least have some creativity.
Yes.
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 Okay. Because I can imagine sometimes some clients would want you to maybe think out of the box for maybe the design that they have. Yeah. Have you had experiences like that?
Oh yes, and especially for people who have scars, they would like to cover up the scar, but they would not want to put an actual tattoo. So you'd never know what you're actually going to make, because sometimes you can tell a client, send me a photo of your scar, but the minute you meet the client at the forefront, you realize, wow, even whatever design I had in mind might not deliver what this client would want, what their expectations would be. So yes, now that is where now the creativity bit comes, because a client might want, sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, with henna, it's just the same as a body shape. You need to know what pattern to place where. So you might find a client might be having a scar, they have come with a pattern, but realistically, if I put the pattern on you, it will not look good. It might end up making the scar even more visible, or it might end up making your leg look smaller or your hand looking smaller. So you have to strike a balance at the end of the day.
What would you hope to see in the henna art world?
I'd really love to see more henna artists, because unfortunately, like in Nairobi, there are more henna artists in Mombasa, in Tanzania, but in Nairobi, getting a henna artist is quite hard. Like, remember I told you, still some of the misconceptions that people have. Some people think that henna doesn't pay well, but yes, it does pay well, because it's creativity. So you really need to work around your pricing. So I would love to see more people embracing the skill set than just focusing more on the white collar job.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Halima. Now, how much do you charge for the different designs?
The charges, they vary, but I could say it starts from 1,000, because sometimes you might find it might be a small scar, but the amount of work that I'll need to put in might be equivalent to 2,500, but we could say the range starts from minimum 1,000 going all the way up to 10,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it depends with the design.
It depends with the design.
Okay. And how do we take care of our henna now that we are,
done.
hennaed up? How do we take care of it to make sure that it lasts longer?
Essentially, once we're done, once it's dry, and we'll scrap it off, I tend to use more of hot oils. Hot oils, that is coconut, you can use black seed oil. They tend to, They tend to assist in the skin absorption because they're hot. Essentially, henna, the organic henna needs a lot of heat for this thing to become darker. So we'll put some oil. Then once you put the oil, if you have gloves, you put it, just generally henna needs heat. Once you're done, then now avoid touching too much water. If you touch too much water, then it might fade off within a week. If not, around 10 to 14 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite dye to use and that you recommend to all your clients? Is it the synthetic or the organic dye?
Anytime I would go with organic.
Organic.
Organic, anytime.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm so happy with the results. So now we're just going to give it a couple more minutes to dry so that we can see the final results. So now we're ready to take at least this one off first, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So once it's dried, it can't continue staining anymore.
Yes. But then now, like remember I told you about the skin absorption. It needs to take 24 hours, then 48 for you to actually now get to know this is my full stain.
So how often should you repeat this process, or it just depends with how much you like henna?
No, it just depends on how much you like henna. The people, once the stain has just faded, immediately they get another design done or the same design. So it all depends with somebody's preference. There's somebody who just likes getting the henna done for a function, maybe graduation, birthday, weddings, a wedding anniversary, you know.
Okay.
So essentially, we don't wash henna with water. Once we, remember I put the oil helps to seal the color. So once you remove it, you've scrubbed it off, then you just let it dry. You don't wash your hands. Maybe you can wash your hands after an hour or so.
After an hour?
Yes.
Okay, just to give the color some time to
yes, to
fully
continue.
absorb.
Yes.
Okay. So there you have it, our final result for now, because like she said, after 48 hours we will be able to see now the final color on my skin, which is ideally going to be something closer to what Halima has. So this is what we're going for. So thank you so much, Halima.
You're welcome.
If anyone is watching and wants some, you know, to do this, you know, what would you advise them? Go for it.
Yeah, definitely go for it. If you want to get the henna done and you want something temporary and to look good for a function, I'd advise you can try out henna.
Yeah, and it's not permanent, which is great.
Yes, it's
so you can try different designs. You know, Halima not only does the intricate Arabic, Indian, Moroccan designs, she also does other designs as well. Yes. So you can always hit her up. How do we find you, Halima?
On Instagram, my IG handle is House Heenah.
House Heenah.
Yes.
All right. Do you do house calls?
Depends, yes, but rarely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Halima, and thank you for watching. It's been really amazing exploring this world of henna. I mean, we've seen it's not just tradition. It's also a form of self-expression, and it's also a form of beauty, and it's also bringing people from different cultures together. Thank you so much for watching, and until next Wednesday, stay glam. We cannot wait to see you. Make sure to follow our Instagram page @theglamntv for more BTS scenes. Stay glam.